Today, I'm going to bring you another interview. Today's interview is with Jared, another child-free millennial. I thought it would be important to get a little bit more of a male's perspective on the child-free life. Make sure you watch until the end of the video because Jared is going to be talking about a very special project that he's been working on that is coming up very soon and you don't want to miss it. So here is the interview. I hope you enjoy. Welcome to the channel.
So, I'm happy for the opportunity to talk with you.
I'm so thankful that you said yes to coming on my channel. We hear a lot from women, right? And their perspective, but there's not as many males that are either willing to speak out or maybe there aren't as many child-free males. I'm not 100% sure, but it's going to be really nice to talk to you and get your perspective on what your experience has been.
Yeah, great. Absolutely.
I guess I just kind of like to start at the beginning of your story. When did you know that you wanted to be child-free? Have you always known, or is that just something that with time has sort of been an idea in your mind?
There was maybe a chance I was like, oh, maybe I'll have a child or something, mid-20s or something around there. But I've seen with my mom and I've seen with many other mothers out there that they're screaming, they're kind of angry, they're stressed. You see the effects. My mom, she worked 2 jobs or maybe even 3 to provide for me and my sister. And I see that struggle, and I in my mind, I'm like, it doesn't seem like they're having too much fun. You just see more cons than pros when it comes to wanting to have children. There's just too many bad factors that are associated with having children. I got 3 things that I could easily bring up. There's financial. I'd like to retire possibly someday. If I have a child, that's going to be a burden for me trying to retire, someday. It's going to be a little bit longer if I'm going to have a child. I see a lot of people have children when they're already poor to begin with. And I don't understand that personally. So I think I was listening to Dave Ramsey. It was like there was like 3-4 kids with this couple, and they said they spent $40,000 a year on daycare. I'm like, wow, you got to be kidding me.
Oh, I can't imagine. That's a lot of money. I mean, that's like some people's entire salary for a year, right?
It's going to be harder and harder to retire. It's going to be harder to save up for items, I believe, in the future. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to bring a life into this world that is going to be subjected to way harder challenges in the future than what I have to deal with right now. So
it's a lot of unknowns, right? Like we're not guaranteed anything. And I think for some people that's such a drawback because you think like, well, I've experienced this in life and I would never want my child to experience that or worse, right? Because there are no guarantees.
I think it's too big of a responsibility for myself to be a parent. I think I would lose track of them because I've never changed diapers before. I don't think it's not fun at all. And
it's not that exciting, honestly. It's not.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And it's just too much there's a human life in your hands. My luck is I would probably harm or injure the child by accident. And I have repercussions, against me. There's laws against, losing track of your child or, they get hurt while you're child neglect. There's also like if you and your spouse break up, then you're going to have the drama of child custody, which that could be really traumatic. There's also your child could end up having a disability or a handicap. And then that's a whole different level, a living nightmare, possibly. The costs with someone that's disabled, the electric wheelchairs, they aren't cheap at all. I'm sure medication isn't cheap at all, depending on what their case is. And I would be so depressed if I had a child that, had a disability or something health-wise was bad with them. So it's too much of a responsibility. I'd rather be doing hobbies and fun things and setting goals for myself. Traveling is a big passion of mine. So the big one for me also is the planet. We had 1 billion people on the planet around 1800, and we go from 1 billion to almost 8 billion. Currently, we're almost near 8 billion. That's really alarming that within like 200 years, we've grown, nearly 7 billion people on the planet. that there's only so much vegetation that the planet can give to us and resources. There is a limit to how many people can be on this planet. So
the reasons you've mentioned, I think, are a lot of the reasons why people make that choice not to have kids. So how has your family reacted to you saying that you don't want kids?
My dad, I don't even speak to him anymore, but it wasn't due to my child-free stance. He had like alcoholism and that sort of thing.
Okay.
But my dad, I remember him saying, "I want you to pass on the family name." And I just was like, that is one of the stupidest reasons to have a child, to pass on. Actually, my last name is Hansen. That's a pretty common name. So I could care less if the Hansen name goes extinct, personally. That was my dad's stance. He wanted me to have some kids. I don't think he didn't really pressure me too much, thankfully. My mom, she's had a very good, strong stance with, she's been very supportive of me. And I'm very happy that she's supportive. If she wasn't supportive of me, I would be strong on my stance and brave it out and show some courage and tell her how I felt regardless. But luckily I've told her, and she actually supports I believe she supports this Childfree Conference that's coming up that I have been mentioning to her. So there hasn't been any nasty remarks or anything like that. Actually, my sister has 2 kids, so she can be the grandma to them. And actually, the sad thing is she wants to see the 2 kids, and we're only like 2 miles away from where my sister lives. She doesn't even get to see them. Like, she's too busy after she's been married and with 2 kids. Like, she doesn't even hand them off to my mother that would like to spend time with them. So that's kind of a sad thing for my mother. But my mom is supportive of myself and my stance on being child free. Yes.
That is fantastic. I think it's so helpful when you take a stand for something that isn't necessarily like what everybody's doing. It's not the popular decision maybe, but to be able to have family support, I think is so huge, because, even if they don't understand or it's not a decision they would have made, to be able to get that support, it kind of gives you that encouragement to be more bold about speaking out about why you chose that, or to help other people understand why you've made that choice. So obviously not from your family, but in general, do you ever feel pressured, like by your friends or society, that you should be a parent?
I think some, like my coworkers have mentioned, you'll make a great father someday, and that's just not the case. I end up saying, yeah, I'm not going to be a dad, and some of them might try to have some, send me some, bad remarks. You got to stay firm on your stance, regardless if you're in a workplace setting or with your family. Whoever wants to bring up the topic about kids, you need to be vocal and speak up about it and not shy away from it, because the more we speak up about it, the more the awareness kind of goes out into the world. A lot of people don't know that there's another option or another choice. There is a plan B, and that means you don't want kids. And myself, I ended up getting a vasectomy like 2 years ago in Denver, Colorado. And it was a great choice, and the burden and the weight went off my shoulders.
You decided to just go for it. You're going to get a vasectomy. So how did your doctor respond to you, or how was that process as far as, was it difficult to get as a male, or was it fairly straightforward and easy?
It was pleasantly easier than I suspected. And I know I've heard women having a very hard time to get sterilized. I just went online, Googled Denver vasectomy, something like that.
Yep.
And I came up with some options, and I just sent like an email, and they contacted me. We ended up having an appointment. It was a lady that just asked me a few questions, how old I was. I was over 30. Do you have have a spouse or a female? Are you with like a female, for example? And I said, no, I'm single. And that was basically it. It was like 2 or 3 questions, which was nice. And they I hate to say it, they kind of seemed to, had to make a decision for me. I don't like that. I don't understand why, if I'm 18 and older, and that goes for women too, if they're 18 and older, they should be able to have any sort of forms of sterilization, that they want. And, if they don't want to reproduce, give them that opportunity. They're over 18 years old. I absolutely had a great experience with my vasectomy. The doctor that performed it, during the process, he asks you if you feel any pain multiple times throughout the procedure. So basically I said, I don't feel anything. And it was I probably could have went to my job just a day or two later if it was that good. So the health insurance ended up helping me pay for the vasectomy. It ended up being $55. They told me $100, which I was absolutely fine with because I was willing to spend $1,000 if I had to. So
yeah, for sure.
And the cost was very affordable. If I could, I would have a vasectomy like 10 years sooner. If I could have talked to myself, go back in time, I would have loved to have told myself, get it when you're like 22, if it's possible. So I encourage all the guys to get one if they're, strong enough on their stance to be in child-free by choice.
Sure. That is such a different experience than like I had when I wanted to go get a tubal done. It's just 100% different. Like I get all the questions like, well, you're too young. I was over 30. You're going to change your mind. Is your husband okay with this? You'll definitely change your mind. There's no way we're doing this for you. So why do you think there's such a different approach to women wanting to get sterilized and men wanting to get sterilized? Because it seems really hypocritical that a man can decide when he's 30 that he's, doesn't want kids and that's totally okay, but a woman doesn't have the right to make that decision herself.
The woman is bearing the child. I think the government has something to do with it. And I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but I believe that the government wants more workers for the next generation to be in the job force, because like in Japan or Tokyo, they're having an issue where there's more older people than there is younger people. So they're having and other countries have that situation too, but the USA, for example, they want their workforce to get bigger and bigger and bigger to support the elderly, keep that production going, because we want to keep our economy strong.
When people have kids, they spend a lot of money on their children, right? People who are child-free probably aren't going to be spending the same amount of money on whatever it is, clothes or diapers or shoes or all the things that come along with having kids, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The more resistance that they can give to the mother, I think, or the possible mother, I think they're going to want to give up possibly. Okay, I'll just, they won't do the sterilization, and maybe unfortunately they'll end up having a baby, and they can't go back on it once the baby's comes out. So you're with it for a very, very, very long time.
The important thing about having kids is you have them because you really, really want them, not for any other reason, honestly, right?
Yeah, I'm sure there's if we could talk to some of the people, there's probably some disturbing things they would tell us why they end up having children. Me and my husband, we could make beautiful babies together. There should be more than just, that for a reason, or like passing the Hansen name, for example. Like there should be a much, much greater reason why you want children to end up having them. Sometimes I question it, because there's people out there that, have 10 children, have 20 children. When is it enough? Like, is there a number you guys are actually going for? Because I've heard from some females before where they're like, I need this number, and then I will be complete.
That totally boggles my mind, because I want 0, so I don't even know what that would be like.
Yeah, like I would assume 1 or 2 would be plenty for most. I heard something about like Nick Cannon, the celebrity. He ended up having 4 kids in 1 year, or some twins.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah, and like unfortunately, this one rapper, he passed away. His name was DMX, and he had 15 children. They were at his funeral, and I was like, wow, oh my goodness.
Okay. Oh my goodness. I can't even go there. I don't even know what that would be like.
Yeah.
So I can't from, my way of thinking, honestly.
Yeah. It's, so I just, you got to question it. What are the reasons for having the child? I have I can't answer that.
What is a common misconception that people tend to have about you because you are child-free?
The big thing is, who's going to take care of you when you die? And, I'm trying to build up my, net worth or my savings.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to prepare for retirement, so I don't need someone to try to take care of me. Some people, I'm okay with being single, but you got to prepare for it if you end up going to a nursing home someday. I'm saving up for a house right now, and then after that I'll try to get into investments and try to build up my wealth after that. And so I'm trying to be financially independent and secure, and aiming to go after retirement at some point. So I think there's a misconception that, like, you're going to be lonely when you die at the end of your life and miserable. And actually, I've gone to London and Tokyo by myself, and I just research it when I go to different countries beforehand. And I've had a great time doing solo travel. And if I had a child, I could never do any of those things and go for some of the dreams and goals that I've gone and been able to accomplish.
You don't have to have children or even a partner to be able to experience life and to actually find it fulfilling and fun, right? Whereas we kind of sometimes have this misconception, like, well, if you aren't attached to anyone and you don't have kids, well, then your life will be unfulfilling and you'll be lonely no matter what.
Yeah, I have this visual of, like, I think some people think we're going to be like in a basement with the lights off, and we're going to be completely miserable with like a chair. We're just sitting in a chair and with hardly any clothes on, and they'll find us, like, when we like, if we pass on, they'll find us like years down the road in our basement.
Like, you'll have nothing going for you at all, right?
Yeah, I used to play table tennis, and I go to this place called the Center for Active Generations, and there's these senior citizens, and they're having a great time. They're doing shuffleboard, they're doing table tennis, they got senior Olympic games, and your later years could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with that. And I think it's what you make of it, right? If you start building a community of people right now, it doesn't mean that suddenly when you're in your 70s or your 80s, you have nobody. You've been working your whole life to build a community and to be friends with people. And that doesn't necessarily mean that there'll be nothing for you to do, which is a very common misconception.
Yes, and I have a bunch of hobbies that I like to do for fun, So finding those like-minded individuals, that's the way to go. I didn't know, like, let's be honest here. I didn't even know what the term child-free was to begin with. And I just typed in like no kids or something, because that was what was in my head. And I was like, oh, wow, on Facebook, it says something about child-free. I didn't even know the term. And I ended up researching it some more. And I'm like, wow, there's actually like-minded individuals that are just like me. I thought I was like the black sheep. I thought I was by myself. And with the internet, you can find out that you're not alone, and that there's people around the world that are spread out that feel the same way as you do, not wanting to have kids.
100%.
And it's relief. It's a relief to see. So it's nice. It's a blessing to see that there's other people that feel the same way as I do. Yep.
That's very true. And I think that's why we put effort and energy into creating online platforms and like Instagrams and Facebook groups and everything, so that people don't feel alone, so that people will be able to find your group and feel like, oh, wow, there's actually people that are just like me.
I ended up making my group because I thought I could do it a little bit better, than the other ones that are out there. I kind of wanted to focus on hobbies, passions, whatever's fun in your life, posted in my group. And it's been really good, and I've had to enjoy a very good time meeting, getting to know people in person, possibly in the future. Life can be fulfilling without kids.
I really like your Facebook group. I like it for a couple of reasons. One, exactly what you mentioned. It's discussions even just beyond being child-free. It's just like hobbies or, fun things you've done, or how was your weekend or whatever. And it is a very positive place, which I find there are some child-free groups that are very anti-parents or anti-kids, or we hate family kind of things. And I'm not about that at all. So it's very refreshing to find your Facebook group, and it's positivity. That goes a long way in helping find community. You're basing your community on something that's positive and focusing on positive aspects of life rather than, what you don't like.
We can all focus on the bad stuff in life if we want to. We can, and we have a choice if we want to focus on the good stuff. And I'd rather just focus on great, fun stuff that's in my life, and what people are having a fun time doing. I used to have a YouTube channel, and it was talking sports really, but I traveled and stuff. But I had a video on there that says I don't want kids, and it's from like 2012. Like someone mentioned it when I posted that on like my group. They said that kind of proves that argument that says you will change your mind, because that was like 9 years ago or now. So yeah, I didn't change my mind. And I actually probably got stronger on my stance as time went on.
And you spoke out about it way before these other child-free channels came into existence, right? Like you were talking about it, and you were probably one of the first people to even talk about being child-free. That was years before I even thought that I was going to share.
Yeah. There might have been a few videos, I'm sure, on YouTube, since it has been around since like 2006, around there. I was like, yeah, I'm going to make this video. Yep, it's just stronger and I'm more bolder on it. And then trying to make the child-free movement bigger. My goal is to make it international, because it's an international decision for every person on this planet. So everyone has to make the choice to either want kids or not, and it doesn't matter what country you're in and what skin color you are. It's a worldwide decision, and it has consequences, basically, good and bad. So.
If you do date, how have you found that your child-free stance relate to women, or how they accept that?
I usually myself, I always bring it up even before a first date. Even at, during the first date, I'll bring it up, that my child-free stance, because you will find out that if you ask them, do you want kids someday, you will get a crazy answer possibly from some of the women I've talked to. It's a very important question to be asking, and don't bring it up later, because you don't want to get into a relationship and waste each other's time.
It's so important, because if you're not upfront and you invest time and you find out you don't want the same things. And I think when it comes to having kids, that's a huge deal breaker either way for people, right? So it's better just to be straight up, lay your cards on the table, even though that might take some courage for people who feel a little bit, nervous talking about it. But in the long run, I think it's the much better choice to make.
Like, be truthful and honest. And that's basically how I feel about that. Yes.
You have been working very, very hard on a project with a couple of your friends, and you're wearing a shirt that is advertising the project that you're working on. So could you just give us a little rundown of what it is you're working on, when it's happening, and what people can expect?
I had this idea that we should have a conference of sorts, kind of like a convention. It was in my head for a number of months, and I ended up bringing it up to the attention of our co-founders now, Cody and Lenora. They wanted to get on board with it. I thought, we should have speakers once a year come virtually and discuss, certain topics they would love to talk about that are related to the child-free community. Without Lenora and Cody, this thing would not be possible. But we're going to be talking about many different topics of discussion. I believe it was like climate change, child-free and single, child-free in the Indian culture. We have a child-free guys talk. We're going to be on our official YouTube channel. We're going to be on our Facebook page, Childfree Conference, and I'll be streaming it in my group, Best Child-Free Life Possible. It's going to be a 9-hour event. We're not going to have really any time for breaks. It's going to be very, very big. We've been planning it for the 8 months, and we've been doing weekly meetings, trying to make this thing as good of a production quality as possible. We have a lot of panels. You can see the full schedule and listing on our Facebook page. Also on childfree.com/childfree-conference. And we're hoping to do it every single year from now on. We're just hoping it gets bigger and bigger as time goes on.
And what's the date that it's happening?
Oh, yes. July 31st, and it's going to start at 9 a.m. Eastern time, which is New York City time. So if you're living in Asia or Australia, it's going to be the next day for those people.
Thank you so much, Jared, for taking time to come and chat with me. I've really appreciated it.
Yes, it's been great. Thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm going to have all the links to everything down below. So if you guys are interested in getting more information and seeing some of the details of what's going on, you'll be able to find it all down below, or definitely link up everything. In case you missed my interview with Childfree Michaela, go ahead and watch that right here. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you are never alone, and I will see you next week.